What if the food on your plate held the real key to managing your body's energy levels? Well, today we're diving into a major scientific review that uncovers that powerful connection between what we eat and our blood sugar. Let's get right into it. So let's start with a pretty big number. The review we're looking at found that back in 2011, there were 366 million people living with diabetes around the world. And honestly, that's a staggering figure. But believe it or not, that was just the beginning of the story. Because that same research projected that by 2030, that number would jump to over 500 million people. Now, this isn't just a number on a page, right? This is a global health crisis in the making, and it makes understanding this stuff more urgent than ever. But here's the thing, what if we're not powerless against this? The whole idea behind the research we're exploring today is that the answer isn't just in the pharmacy, it's actually in our kitchens. Our food choices, they're one of the most powerful tools we have. Okay, so let's start by framing the problem here. Why is managing our blood glucose so important for pretty much everyone? And this is a really crucial point the review makes. This isn't just about diabetes. See, even if your blood sugar is just a little high, not even in the diabetic range, it can increase the risk of heart disease. And that means this conversation, well, it affects every single one of us. And that brings us to the core thesis of this entire paper. The authors are basically saying that using food to manage blood sugar isn't just a nice idea or a backup plan, it's a primary strategic goal for our health. It's front and center. So, how does this actually work in our bodies? To really understand how food can be a tool, we've got to look at the basic mechanics, how our body processes fuel after we eat. Okay, so after any meal, it's totally normal for your blood sugar to go up. The fancy scientific term for this is postprandial glycemia. But here's the catch. Not all these rises are the same. You have to ask, is it a gentle, rolling hill, or is it a super sharp, sudden mountain peak? The research makes it crystal clear that the size and the speed of that spike are what really matter for our long-term health. So where are these spikes coming from? For the most part, it's the story of carbohydrates. But you gotta know, it's a story with two very different main characters. On one side, you've got your high glycemic index foods. These guys break down super fast, flooding your system with sugar and causing that sharp spike we talked about. But on the other side, you've got low glycemic index foods. They release their energy slow and steady, creating a much gentler, more manageable curve. It's really the difference between throwing gasoline on a fire versus putting on a solid log that burns for hours. Let's look at a few real-world examples straight from the data. White bread, boom, a rapid spike. But then you look at something like whole, intact oat kernels, and the spike is way slower, way smaller. And then you have foods like pasta or lentils, which the data shows just lead to this low, sustained release of energy. The difference is just, it's dramatic. So what gives? Why the huge difference? Well, a massive finding in this review is that the physical form of the food is everything. Your body has to work way harder and take a lot longer to break down the complex structure of an intact grain. Finely milled flour, though, that's like pre-digested food for your body. The sugar is basically ready to be absorbed instantly. But wait, there's another key player in this whole story. A true unsung hero when it comes to controlling that blood sugar curve. And that is fiber. Specifically, we're talking about a type called soluble fiber. You'll find it in things like oats, beans, and apples. And what makes it so special? Well, when it mixes with water in your digestive system, it does this really cool thing. It forms a thick, kind of viscous gel. So how does this gel work its magic? Well, it physically traps the carbohydrates from your meal. It almost acts like a time-release capsule. This whole process slows down digestion and makes sure that sugars enter your bloodstream as a gentle trickle instead of a flood. And the evidence for this? It's just overwhelming. The review points out specific fibers, like beta-glucan from oats and psyllium, are proven to flatten that post-meal spike. In big picture, the research confirms that over the long haul, high-fiber diets dramatically improve our overall blood sugar control. All right, so let's put this all together. This is the most important part. How do we actually use this knowledge? It all comes down to recognizing the power you have every single time you prepare a meal. And here's another crucial point from the research. You can't just focus on one thing. Yeah, low GI carbs and fiber are key players, for sure. But including protein and healthy fats in your meal also slows everything down and helps blunt that overall sugar response. It's all about teamwork on your plate. So, to sum it all up, the core strategies from this review are pretty straightforward. First, make those low-glycemic, high-fiber carbs your go-to. Second, choose foods in their most whole, intact form whenever you can. Third, always try to balance those carbs with some protein and fat. And finally, just remember that it's the big picture, your overall dietary pattern, that really makes the biggest difference in the long run. The science is really clear on this. Food has a profound and immediate impact on our health. It's not just fuel, right? It's information that can help our bodies thrive. So, looking at your next meal, what's one simple swap you can make to put this power to work for you?